Okay, here we are. We are going to do part 4B. So I made A for this first part and B for this second part. And let's see what we're doing today. I feel like I want to add a different colour in. Maybe a bit of that. So we're doing, the first one is cross stitch. Now I think that cross stitch it's actually one of my favourites, and I have no idea why. It's a bit like seed stitch, just relaxing. Very, very relaxing. Now I'm left-handed like Rachel, and I was watching Rachel doing her crosses and I went, oh my goodness, I've never done it that way, so I think I'm going to have a try, see how I go doing it this way, where you do just one line first. And honestly, it probably means I'll do it a bit more evenly, or not. I probably should have drawn a line. I'll be all over the place. They'll be all wonky. You know what? That's what happens. Yep, they're already wonky. Already all... Okay. There's my ruler. Right, actually, I just thought, I'm not really being a perfectionist, but some days, see, look, it's on an angle. Now I think I want to do this one on an angle, like I want to come down so they're going on a line. Right, this is going to just show you that creativity comes in all forms, and then we're going back. Now, say Rachel was doing this. I can't. Yep. We've all learnt how to do different things, haven't we? Different ways. So mine are very wonky. I'm going to try and do some straight ones next. Yep, wonky wonky. One of the things that I might have said in the last video that I enjoy about these stitches is that they do remind me of when I'm painting, when I'm doing abstract painting, the mark making you can make when you're painting. And often a lot of abstract painters will be putting in little crosses or little lines, little dotted lines, as a way to fill in areas and be a bit more creative. Okay, that's me being wonky, and we'll just call it creativity. Now, here's some. So I was looking at that blue and going, oh, I like those together. I need a different, maybe a small, it's only 2 strands on that. Wouldn't you know it, my glasses are on the other side of the room. So having this little sampler is good, because it's reminding me that this is wonky and it's okay to have imperfection. And these ones are relatively straight, and it's okay to have it a bit more perfect, you know. It's It's all of the differences will create a different story. So I noticed now what happens if I go like that? I noticed that Rachel and Sarah's were looking really nice and neat. Right, so this is, I'm just totally making a new version of how Rachel did it. And isn't it good? Because as Rachel said, we're just doing a sampler, which is where we learn things. I'm going to turn it upside down and come back this way. See, if I was doing a lot and I wanted really straight stitches, I reckon this is how I would do it. That's actually much neater. Now I don't mind either. Some days I absolutely love neatness. Other days, forget it. Just forget it. Give me the wonkiest, Willy Wonka-ish, creative anything and I'll be in heaven. Oops, is that? The other thing I enjoyed was that this was a lot thinner. Where's the end? There it is. So that was really thick and that was really thin, and I love that. Oh, I just thought I did have, let me see. Oh, I've got this. This is a thin one again too. All right, I'm going to do a test. All the different ways. I was actually surprised how many ways Rachel got cross stitch. I just go, oh yeah, it's just crosses. But no, there's more. Come on. Okay, I'm going to do another very faint line. Smaller ones. Now for me to do this quickly, I think I'm going to do similar to that one I did, or I did it this way. All right, let me look at what I'm doing. Now I haven't done any smocking, but when I was doing that, I wondered if that's how smocking is done. I'll have to research again. Isn't it good? It just inspires you to just go on and have a look at something else. There. Now I definitely am thinking if they were pulled tight, it would bunch up and be smocking. Learning secrets we weren't expecting to learn, isn't it? That's amazing. All right, now I'm going to do this one that Rachel did. And I want to work out, maybe that will be the one going across the row. Now Rachel just went over that little middle bit of that, and I know on my, well, let me get it. Okay, I'm still up to my last row of my stitch wheel, but Jacobean couching. Let me double check if I've got the right one. yes, it's Jacobean couching, where you've got, well, Jacobean couching, you do the long rows. So you do a row of stitches and a row of stitches, and then you do a little thing holding it down over the top. So this is a bit similar what Rachel was doing. So I don't know if it's, I don't think it's called, it would not be called Jacobean couching, because obviously there's shapes and then you do the lines and then you do the lines. But I'm actually going to do a version that Rachel said was a possibility, and I'm going to do now, you know, it's actually quite an effective pattern to do it every second. I was going to do back stitch. I'm just going to do this over every second one. Now, the difference with what Rachel did and what this one is that she did a very little stitch here, and I'm doing a bigger stitch, and I'm just doing it over every second one. And that's just playing, because if you imagine, there can just be so many different varieties. And all of them are different mark making and pattern making. Right, so the next one, love this journey, it's great. Just love doing this project with Sarah and Rachel. All right, so one more stitch that Rachel did. I don't want to keep using the same colour threads. We've got to have a new thread, new colour. Well, that's a bit radical. Let's have a wild green. Oh no, I know what I wanted to use. I wanted to use some of my beautiful skein here. I wonder if I can pick out a greeny colour. I really should, yeah, I should weave this onto something. I'll get round to it. What I'm doing is just pulling out a piece and cutting it right in the middle, because it had a bit of green up this end. But let's see, I'm not using the green. Not using the green. After all that, this one definitely will not thread without my helper, my little flower helper. Right. Now this, don't need this much. Oh no, let's do it double. Then we get a real variety of colours. And 2 strands. Okay. Now I'd better do, honestly, it's the only stitch I feel like I keep needing to do draw a line with. Now I'm going to make this one long. How many more stitches? Oh, I've got 4 more stitches to go. Oh, that's all right. I'll be able to do it. I'll manage. All right, now when Rachel was doing this one, I was immediately thinking, but that's herringbone stitch, so it is. I went and looked, and it is. So if you imagine you're doing a cross, and you're coming back about 1 stitch, and you're trying to do the similar angle down here, and then you're coming back 1 stitch. So you've got crosses, but it's a little cross up the top and a little cross down the bottom. So if I was going to go this way and do it this way, that's what I'd be doing, like that. I start things one way and then I end up turning my thing upside down. But you know what? It doesn't really matter, does it? Oh, I'm loving that variety of colour in that. Many, many different ways of doing crosses in a stitch. Okay, that is getting a bit bunched up. There's that. Oh, I do like that. So I was thinking I do have a lot of blue in my book, but I realised also I had a lot of purple, so I'm really glad I've brought this purple shade in with this one. Now, I am going to, what am I going to do? The French knots are next. I'm just going to go straight into it with where my thread is. All right, so let's do, no, seed stitches next, all right? Now, I was fascinated by Rachel's parallel seed stitch. I hadn't done that before, so I'm going to have a go at that. And I think it's quite interesting using it with a double thread as well. So seed stitch always just goes in different directions. Make a bit of a pattern. Then we'll get on to French knots. All right, so that's parallel seed stitch. That's quite effective. Then we've just got a normal seed stitch. This one also, I tell you what I really love. I love doing this when it's on a thicker layer and it creates a quilted effect. Just got my tags. Here's a seed stitch with tiny weeny little stitches in 3 different colours. So it was tag week 16, if you want to look at Anne's. And we went around the outside of the circles. Loved that. All right, look at this. Nearly finished our tags. What a good bunch we've got. So that's many different ways we can do seed stitch. Or what would you say? Many applications, perhaps. So yeah, mixing colours, mixing lengths, mixing threads, get all different sorts of effect of seed stitch. Let's put that there. Let's try something different with the seed stitch, a different thread maybe. I'm just using up little scrappy bits there. Maybe some bigger ones. The premise obviously is it's supposed to sit and look like scattered seeds. Here's another example. Just a little patch. It could just be a little patch that looks like mark making. All right. Oh, there's a nice dark green. I'll get some of that. Well, there you go. It's ready to go. So I was just thinking, what happens if you do a little back stitch? Back stitch square. Just for fun. Might be a bit wibbly wobbly square. That's okay. And I've got some of this left. What if I do teeny tiny? Oh, just got a knot in it. What if I do teeny tiny little seed stitches in here? Quite relaxing. There we go, there's my little box of seeds. My wrist phone is pinging. Anyone remember that show, The Jetsons? Like, you know, before Maxwell Smart and Mission Impossible with Tom Cruise, with all the newfangled phones and stuff that actually are now just normal. I do believe, so here I am, I'm not meant to have a rant on this one. I usually do that on my Tag Tuesday, but obviously I'm sitting here having a stitch, so you talk to people, don't you? The theory is that on the Mission Impossible films, they always tried to research the cutting edge of what hadn't been released yet. So all the things like the watches and the stuff like that just, well, we're doing a French knot, just hadn't been released. So it was always ahead of its time. But if anyone remembers the Jetsons, I'm pretty sure it was the Jetsons, the cartoon where they would talk into their little wristwatch phone. I think it was. Anyway, French knots, getting distracted. This is how I do it. Turn it round, maybe once, maybe twice. Let's do a 2. I don't know. I think these woolen mats are great. I poke my needle into it, and now I'm just holding down, get out of the way, holding down that part, the tail, and pulling it through. So let's do 3 in a row with 2 knots. Two twists, 1, 2, going back. I'm actually not going exactly in that hole, but I'm going sort of, this is a very coarse, or it's not totally coarse, it's fine really, but you can see little lines where each of these threads are. So I'm just going kind of into the one next to it. So that is 3 in a row with 2 twists. And keep getting my thread bunched up. Alright, so let's, alright, we'll do 4, or let's do 5. So you can obviously do 2, 3, 4, 5, even, I've even done 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, hang on, 1, 2, 3, 4, alright, 4. Holding it down. So you can see it's a lot bigger, but it's also a bit looser. Right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Two, 3, 4, and let's just do maybe something like an 8 or something like that, just to see. Now you can see that, you know, sometimes they're a bit loose and there's a little bit of a thread there like that, and that's, I find, I guess the smaller and the finer, the more perfect you can get, if you want perfect, or if you want, let's not use the word perfect, let's just forget that word, uniformity, and then maybe a thin thread but with a lot of wraps, you're going to get a bit more variety. You can poke it around a bit, pull a bit out if you want. Let's do an 8 just to see, because then we're just seeing all the differences. And look at that. Does anyone see a row of lettuces? I do. That's what I'm thinking. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now this is going to be interesting. I'm still holding it relative. Oops. Get in there. Nope. Oh, pull it apart. Start again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, 7, 8. Okay, now I'm holding it relatively tight. But look, it's quite, that's pulled tight, so it's quite a little, it's like a little hook with rings on almost, the way that it's ended up like that. So I like it. I like that. What else? I'm going to do really, like, I like that. Oh, I'm going to do more of that. I'm going to do a 8, no 5, but just not even hold that and be really loose. See how it's all loosey-goosey? And I don't mind that either. I quite like it. I think I've seen other people maybe do something like this and then bring up, and maybe it's a different name for it, bring it up and then just actually secure it down, if that's the way you want it to be. So there's a few varieties of French knots. All right, I learnt my lesson. Of course, French knots can always be done in many, like as we've already been doing, many different threads, many different thicknesses, colours. All right, what's next? All right, Colonial knot. All right, so I wanted to just do a thick one. see how that goes. And that thick wool, maybe just 2 wraps. Very thick with this wool. And also I saw, I noticed, I just had another quick look at the video, and I noticed that Rachel had done the satin or the silk ribbon. So I'm going to do a little bit of that because I'd already done that up there. So I think I'd like to have a little bit of that, and also I was just noticing it's a different way to start it, so I want to do that. Do we need any more? No, that just shows us the wool one. All right. The silk that I've got, as I said, the Australian silk, I've got this that goes from this darker green right through to paler. I've got another one which is a yellow to a red, but I think I'll use that on my next sample. Right, so I didn't tie a knot. We have the end like so. Just keep that there. Then we do our wraps. When we come through, we're picking up the tail. We're coming through and picking up a bit of that tail there. All right. Now I need to be holding this end down. So I've secured this end. I don't trust it fully, so I'm going to come back in again. I mean, because these things rip. All right, I do actually quite like the effect of the silk. So I'm doing 3. A little bit hard to get through, but it's all right. All right, there's 3. All right, I'll do a few more. I hope you can hear my crow outside the window, having a bit of a squawk. I always like to hear them, the birds, because I don't know if I've said it before, but this area that I moved into is a very, very old area that had a lot of Italian immigrants. But over the last, well, I've been here, what, 6 years? Yeah, 6.5 years. And I always launch into a story when I've just got to start a new stitch. Distraction much? All right, I'll come back to the story. Right, thread, catch it around. Now, this is one of the ones that I consistently can't remember. Colonial knot. Put it down. I don't know why. I don't know why I think it's hard. It's just really practice, isn't it? I guess we all have one. All right, so under and around. But it's very neat. It's a very, very neat little knot. Under, wrap under, come on, under, wrap, and in. It's not so hard really when you start doing it, is it? Maybe I'll do a row so I remember it. Under and wrap. Now I know Rachel said you can do these loose as well, but I always like it in terms of it's a very neat knot. It's a neat knot. Say that fast. Right. It's almost counterintuitive to French knot because you start it going the other way. There we are. Right, I'm going to use a different thread and start again. That way I'm challenging my brain to do something different and come back to it and remember it. So, have I got one threaded up? All right, I've got this thick green ready to go. Let's try that. Okay, we're going under and then wrapping. Under and then wrapping. Under and wrap. I think there must be. I've said it already a few times that we have favourite stitches, and mine is a cross stitch, and I don't mind a French knot. And if I want to sit and just do embroidery without thinking too much, seed stitch is really good for relaxing too. But this knot, the reason I don't enjoy it is because I've got to wibble wobble around there and go over. And I know it's a valid knot, but it's just probably one of my least favourite knots. So I'm going to stop now. It's like, it's not really, there's no real reason for it to be a least favourite knot. It just, I think I feel bored when I'm doing it. I don't know why. Isn't that weird? Oh, anyway, so I was going to get back to the story. Just as I'm about to start another knot. Oh my goodness. All right, let's get some thread. Let's forget about Colonial knot now. Let's move on. Pistol stitch. Well, this is actually one of my favourites. I'll get started. Go back to the story from, what, an hour ago? Right, pistol stitch. Okay, so basically what we're doing is a French knot, but instead of putting it in right at the spot, let's do 3, we're coming away from it, and creating like a stem, and then pulling it through like that. So, as Rachel said, it's good for fields of flowers for sure, but there's a lot of variations of this too. And one of them is creating like stamens for flowers, fields of flowers. So there is pistol stitch. Something nice that I like to do with a picture of pistol stitch. Maybe I'll get a button with 4. Another thing we learnt doing our tags with Anne for the last 2 years, a year, it feels like 2 years, but last year. One of the things I like doing is this, just putting the button on. Yes, I'm remembering I've still got my story to get back to, it's in my brain. I have come with a slightly different colour thread to show a difference. And if you're doing a pistol stitch out somewhere like this, out there, it just creates a whole different experience. So you can do short ones, long ones. You can do more through one hole. I'm using a really smaller needle and a thinner thread so as I can fit them in. I like them because they're sort of like a satellite kind of thing. Anyway, the magpies have started singing, so I can get back to my story now. I hope you can hear them. They've really just got such a beautiful song. When I moved in here 6.5 years ago, brand new townhouses, and the street probably only had maybe 2 blocks of townhouses maybe. But in the 6.5 years I've been here, they've pulled down more and more houses and put up more and more townhouses, and it's become a bit high density. So every time, of course, they have put up another townhouse, they've knocked down the trees. So for a while, there hasn't really been enough trees, so it hasn't felt like there are many birds. It's like all the building that was going on, the birds basically just went away. They just went, oh, you people are mad. There's no trees for us, so we're going, you know. So even though there are still some townhouses going up, and even though now I feel like the street's really full of just way too many cars in the street and bins and stuff like that, it's really nice that people are planting again and planting trees in their yards, and the birds have started to come back, and it's really nice. Especially the magpies. Now, every time I walk past them, you probably think this is a bit mad, but every time I walk past them, I say, sing me a song. And sometimes they do. All right, now I'm just mucking around because I find pistol stitch the most creative. The stitch that can create, so you could be doing something like this. Looks like little flower buds or something. Just a pattern, like a mark making pattern. That was two wraps, and that was 3 wraps or 4 wraps. Let's do 5, 6, let's do more. So as wonky as that is, that's kind of like a border. Right, let's cast that off. So they're all our stitches, and I've still got a spot. So what will I do? Maybe just add a bit of this yellow back. That'll go nice with that colour, that whatever that colour is. It's like a burgundy kind of, it's a brown. It's not quite, it's not red, it's not brown. It's between the two. Let's do a Alright, so sometimes if they do that, you can just fiddle around with it a bit. So I imagine this would be like stamens in a flower. Right, let's do a couple of flower petals. Probably preempting a stitch that's going to be on the next sampler, but never mind. Right, I'm just going to poke that under there and make some more over here. So we've got just straight ones, we've got a bunch of flower type of thing, arrangement, we've got just a creative edging, and we've got like the spider out of the button. So that's it for the second half. So 5, 6 to 10 cross stitch plus the herringbone. Then we've had the seed stitches with the parallel seed stitch, French knots, colonial knot, which I've already forgotten, and pistol stitch. There you go. There you have it. All right, I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.